I'm Amy.
I'm Brittany.
And this is Homemade Homicide. Glad you're here. We've got some pretty exciting stuff to talk about today. It's the dating game killer.
Ooh.
But we happen to have a special guest with us today. Would you like to join us?
I would. Look, it's replicated. It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. My other daughter is here. She's going to school in San Diego, so she's staying here for a while. So
I'm still the better one.
She will be joining us today. So today we're gonna make Thai pizza, and I swear it's gonna blow your socks off. You guys know
it's very good.
It's really, really good, and it's super simple to make. So I'm gonna start with my chicken. I'm gonna get it in my already screaming hot pan. I did sound like Rachel Ray there.
There you go.
Thank you.
You can talk about your EVOO.
So my EVOO. So I'm just using, I like chicken thighs for this. You can use chicken breast, but it's good. Okay.
Like a symphony. A symphony of distress.
This is going to be a good one. Okay, so I'm salt and peppering and garlic powdering my chicken. Now you want a lot of salt because you want to make sure you get your meat seasoned. All right.
Okay. You know food has flavor without salt and pepper, right?
Well,
it does.
whatever.
It doesn't without garlic, though. No, it needs garlic. Yeah, it needs garlic.
Gotta have garlic.
Go light on the salt and pepper, though. I'm not
Shut up!
Pepper the fuck out of it, but like salt is easier. Yeah.
Okay,
Calm
so
down on the salt. It makes it swell.
now you don't ever want to use olive oil in a hot pan because olive oil doesn't have a very high burn rate, so it will burn like crazy. I'm using canola oil. Okay, so I'm going to put in my chicken. So I'm going to leave that there. And now let's talk about the dating game killer.
Yes.
So this guy, his name was Rodney Alcala, and he was born in San Antonio, Texas in 1943. And when he was like 3 years old, his dad took the family and they moved to Mexico. And 3 years after he took them to Mexico, he left the family.
Oh, rude.
So, yeah, right?
Very
so they wound up, it was like another 3 years they were in Mexico, and then his mom took him and his siblings, he had 2 sisters and a brother, and they went to LA. So that's kind of how his life started. He went into the Army at 17, and when he got in the Army, he'd been in like 2.5 years, and he started going AWOL. And then they kind of thought that, well, maybe he's having like a mini nervous breakdown.
Uh-huh.
And so he wound up talking to a psychiatrist, and they labeled him with like an antisocial disorder or whatever. And they gave him like a, don't turn that yet. Oh, okay.
I didn't touch it.
They gave him, it wasn't an honorable discharge, but it wasn't a dishonorable discharge. I hate them so much right now. So,
what?
Oh my God. Are we going to do that?
I mean, you went there.
Whatever. Okay.
You brought this on yourself. You did.
So next, I'm going to slice up some bell pepper and some purple onion. So that's what I'm doing right now. Anyway, so he's discharged from the Army, or let go, whatever. And he decides to go to UCLA's fine arts, one of their fine arts programs. And he wants to become a photographer. So he's in school. And, you know, he's going around taking pictures of people, telling everybody that he's a photographer, blah, 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 right? So, in 1968, there was a family, the Shapiros, and their daughter Tally was 12 years old. And their house had recently caught on fire, And so they were staying at the Chateau Marmont, you know, that really cool hotel. So they were staying there and until their new house was built. So she's on her way to school one morning, and so she had on like little white baby jeans and a little dress or whatever. So she,
Hashtag the 70s.
yeah,
Yeah,
hashtag,
right?
exactly, hashtag big time 70s. Of course, it was 68 though.
Oh, whatever. Upcoming 70s.
Yeah.
The style carried over. It's fine. The girl was ahead of her time. She set that trend.
Listen to the story.
Okay. Listening, sorry.
So anyway, she's walking to school, and Alcala pulls up alongside of her in his car, and he tries to get her in the car. Well, she wouldn't get in the car, and he's like, oh, I have this picture I want to show you. And she's like, no, I don't talk to strangers,
Smart.
right?
Stranger danger.
Right. So she's all, I don't talk to strangers, and she starts walking away. So he pulls up alongside her again, and he's like, oh, I know your parents. You know, this is all fine. You know, they know that I was going to take you and show you this picture, you know, whatever, right? So, not wanting to offend him, she gets in the car with him. Well, luckily for Tally, across the street, there was a man that had watched this whole thing unfold, this whole encounter. And he was like, this doesn't seem right, like there's something going on. So, he winds up, when Alcala takes off with her, he follows him. And so now they're, you know, he's following him. They get to his apartment. They get out of the car. He's taking the girl up to the apartment. And this guy's like, there's something going on here. So he goes and finds a phone and calls the police. So the police, this cop shows up at the house. And knocks on the door, and Alcala doesn't answer the door, but he like pulls the curtain back on the window, and he says, oh, I'm taking a shower, you know, what do you need, you know? Well, the cop notices, okay, first of all, the guy is dry. Second of all, he's completely naked, and there's no towel. So the cop's like, I want in the house now. So he's like, okay, you know, hold on. So the cop waits like 5 seconds, he said. And when he didn't come to the door, he just broke the door down and gets in the house. And Tally's laying on the kitchen floor, naked. There's blood everywhere.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And she's got a bar, and the bar was about that long, it looked like. And the cop said that he thought it maybe weighed like 2 pounds.
Yeah.
And so they start to run after Alcala, who he's like taken off out the back, right? So as the cop runs through the house to catch him, he runs past Tally and she starts gagging. So he's like, oh shit, you know, so he's gonna stop and help her, right?
Yeah.
Well, his partner was out in the back. And so he starts yelling for his partner. Well, his partner thought, oh, he needs me in the house. So he runs back around through the front door to help, right?
Yeah.
So Alcala gets away.
Yeah.
So they get Tally and they get her to the hospital. The doctors were like, we don't think she's going to make it. She makes it.
Wow, good.
I know, right? So in the meantime, he's like, oh shit, I got to get the hell out of here. So he packs his shit and he takes off. And he goes to New Hampshire. So he gets to New Hampshire and he changes his name to John Berger. And he starts working at a camp.
Yeah.
And so he's like a kid's.
It's amazing how back in the day people would just like change their names and be like, no.
I know,
I'm
right?
definitely someone else.
Yeah.
How did you get that shit to change your name?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, there was no, you know, they didn't have computers or anything, so that's just the way it was.
Didn't have the internet.
No internet.
Don't tell China about the internet.
Exactly. So, okay, I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to start on my crust. I like to oil my pan. Oh my God. Okay. Anyway. So now he's in New Hampshire.
She's regretting her whole life right now.
Yeah, yeah, she uses those fingers to really rub it away.
Yep. I'm good at that. And then when I'm done, I have to wipe it off. So anyway, he's in New Hampshire, and while he's there,
Can we do something while you're doing all this shit?
I don't know right now.
Just standing around.
Watch, this is gonna blow up. Oh!
Get your dog, Ashley.
Is that your dog barking? So anyway,
Poor little Miss Lola.
I know. There's always a dog barking somewhere in this house. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
So anyway, at this time in New York City, there was a woman, and her name was Camilla Criley, and she was like a stewardess, right?
Yeah.
And she was 23 years old. Well, they, oh my God.
What?
I can't believe all the food you guys seem to find.
You see how big I am?
I know. Couple more months, baby. Anyway, so this 23-year-old woman, Camilla Criley, she winds up dead in her apartment. And she's like raped, strangled, and they don't know who did it, right? They have no idea. So, in the meantime, John Berger, he's working at this camp.
Lion dick.
I know, right? Well, a couple kids,
Wash your hands.
okay, a couple of kids from the camp had gone into the little town where this camp was or whatever, and it started raining. And so they were waiting for a ride, and so they went to the post office to wait for their ride. And inside the post office, because of the Tally Shapiro assault, they were looking for him. And so they had him on their 10 most wanted list. So these kids are sitting in the post office waiting for their ride, and they're looking at the wanted posters or whatever. And they're like,
As children do.
those children do. And they're like, holy shit, that's Mr. Berger. So they get back to the camp, and they find like the head guy or whatever, I don't know, of the camp, and they're like, we just saw Mr. Berger on this wanted poster, in that thing. So he's like, okay, don't say anything to anybody, and I'm going to go check it out. So he comes back because he's like, holy shit, that is John Berger. Mm-hmm. So they call the cops. Well, and this was, I think this was in like 1973. So he gets extradited back to LA. And while he's there, they're going to go to trial. Tally Shapiro's parents refuse to leave Mexico and come and let her testify because they don't want to put her through, that whole thing, right?
Makes sense. I mean,
So they won't let her testify. So all that happens is they wind up, they charge him with assault, and he winds up getting, I think he got 3 years, but he only served 17 months. For good behavior, they let him out, right? So now it's 1974, two months after he gets out of prison.
Right.
He winds up getting rearrested for assault of a 13-year-old girl, and they called her Julie J. Oh my God. And he's sentenced to 2 years. So, again, he doesn't do the full 2 years. So in 1977, after his second release, he goes to his parole officer and he's like, oh, I'd like to go, I'd like to travel. And so the parole officer's like, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. So he leaves and goes to New York, okay? So now he's in New York, and there's a club in New York, or it was called Ciro's. And Ciro's was like, the Rat Pack went there. It was like a big deal. And the owner of Ciro's, his daughter, her name was Ellen Hoover. And she, like her what do you call them, godfathers, were Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin.
Okay.
Yeah, and anyway,
It's pretty cool.
so, I know, right? So she winds up dead, and they find her body. She's buried on the Rockefeller estate. So, again, they don't know, who did this, right? So then in 1978, he's he's back in LA. He's working at the LA Times as like a typesetter. And he winds up getting questioned because that's when the Hillside Strangler was killing people.
Yeah.
And so they were questioning like sex offenders. And he's a sex offender. So they questioned him
Not a good guy.
on one of the deaths, and they thought, but of course it was unfounded because they figured out that he didn't kill these people or whatever. But that's crazy that they would do that, right? So they questioned him or whatever. Well, one of his coworkers, because this whole time he's still going around like he goes to the beach or he goes wherever in LA. And, he's always telling people, oh, I'm a photographer, right? And let me take your picture, you people are beautiful. Yeah. And so one of his coworkers, he, oh, let me take your picture, and she's like, yeah, okay. I mean, she works with him. He's a photographer, blah, blah, blah. So she notices some of his pictures. She sees them and they're like sexually explicit pictures of like guys and girls. And then she was asking him about, because all the girls were naked. And so she was asking, what's the deal with all these naked girls? And he's like, oh, the moms want me to do that. Like, because,
How old were these
No, they
girls?
don't.
Did it say?
it didn't say. I think they were probably all ages. And kind of in the 70s, seemed like it was okay if you were,
Yeah.
14, 15, and yeah, I know. So anyway, so they, I'm gonna turn this meat off.
Okay.
So, he tells her, oh yeah, it's the parents, the moms want me to do this, blah, 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 right? Okay, I'm gonna start on the sauce. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yep. I got
So,
your spoon too.
this is duck sauce. No, I like mine. Spatula. Okay, so now,
Try to do something nice.
I know, I'm gonna cover,
How dare you?
I know.
I'm
I
gonna
just
cover
messed
the
up
whole top of the crust with this yummy, yummy, delectable duck sauce.
Mm.
You are gonna love this. And then, what I'm gonna do, take that.
Take the trash.
This is sambal olek, which is like a garlic and red pepper sauce. You see it a lot in the Asian restaurants.
Fire.
It's so good, I can't get enough. Okay, and then I just kind of mix it up, get it all mixied. Sambal. And then just spread
She's
this.
so fancy saying the full name.
Then just spread this around on your pizza. So this is your marinara sauce, right? Okay. So anyway, he like I said, he's got all these pictures and everything that he's doing, and
It's being real creepy.
yeah, being real creepy. So creepier still, 1978.
Yeah.
He winds up becoming a contestant on the dating game.
No.
Now, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like
Yeah.
the real dating game.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Was it on After Family Feud?
probably in between Brady Bunch and something else,
Yeah.
probably.
The
So
newlywed game where everything was
Oh.
just overly sexual.
yes, well, and it was on the
Where's the
dating game
weirdest place
too.
you've ever had
Yeah.
sex?
In the back.
I'd be in the butt, Bob.
They're like, no.
Well,
This is on
and
television.
This was just as bad. Like when they introduced him, so they're like, "Oh, he's a photographer," and they're like, when he was 13 years old, his dad found him in the dark room, fully developed. I know.
Yeah.
Gross.
That's not something you want to
I know.
say.
Dude,
I know, right?
Okay, the writers for those shows, man.
Yeah.
WTF all day.
Well, the other thing that was kind of funny too was, so there were two producers, a male and a female, and the male producer was like this guy, like he wrote on the application, HN, which is hell no, but the woman, because he was kind of good looking, he had like long hair, he had like olive skin. He was tall. I mean, he wasn't bad looking. He had weird teeth. If he kept his mouth shut, he looked better. But anyway.
There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah. So she, and I love the veggies, so I pour on the onions and the bell peppers, just FYI. So she's like, oh, the women are going to love him. We've got to have him on the show. So this guy's like, the other producer's like, okay, well, we can put him on the show, but if we do, we've got to have two other guys that are like super personality, plus, because this guy's a fucking weirdo. So they get two other guys, and it's their show. Well, the one guy that was on the show back then, and he was really handsome too back in the day. Mm-hmm. He said, he goes, he was so weird, like he had weird opinions. And he just said weird things. And like the one thing that he did say, and he said he got real animated, and he was like, I always get the girl.
Was this one of the other contestants?
Yeah, this was one of the other contestants that said that. And so it turned out like he's bachelor number one, right? So they do the show, and this bitch picks him.
Girls are not a good judge of character.
I know, right?
Really not. Really.
So her name was Cheryl.
Maybe try, but not.
Right?
Pick her.
Exactly.
Pick her, be broken.
So her name was Cheryl Bradshaw. And so Cheryl Bradshaw, like, so when she picks him, like, she picked him, and then he comes over to meet her, right? And they're like, oh, hi, or whatever. But then, like, right afterwards, when the cameras are off, they let him kind of go over here and talk for a few minutes or whatever. And she was just like, holy shit, this guy is so weird. So she goes home, and like she's kind of freaking out all night. And so the next day she calls the producer, and she's like, I don't want to go out with this guy. Like, is this going to be a problem?
Yeah.
And she's like, no, don't worry about it. If you don't want to go out with him, don't worry about it. Well, they kind of, the police and like psychologists have wondered what he may have done when he got rejected like that, because that's kind of a serial killer thing.
Yeah.
Rejection, and that's why they kill people. So yeah, they've often, wondered about, what would happen or whatever. So that's the dating game story, which is pretty crazy because he's like murdering people during this whole dating game thing. I'm going to put this in the oven. Cool. It's usually it's like 350 for like 20-25 minutes, just until the crust gets brown. Oh, I forgot the cheese.
I was gonna say,
there you go.
I forgot the cheese. We need a little mozzarella cheese.
You get no cheese on this pizza.
La 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 la. Well, and I don't put a lot of cheese on this because
character flaw.
It seems weird
because no one likes you.
It's Thai pizza. It's not like pizza.
I don't know, but still.
You still need cheese.
Okay, now I have the cheese on.
All right, open this
I'm
bitch.
gonna put this in the oven.
We got some movie magic going on in here.
We do have movie magic.
Yes.
And out comes the finished product. Well, it's not finished.
Nice.
Yes. So now I'm going to make the sauce for the chicken. So we'll do that next. So I'm going to use peanut butter, brown sugar, coconut milk, lime juice, and fish sauce, which is so good. And more of the sambal olek. And I'm just going to mix it in a bowl. You can watch it. Everything will be in the description box below. So don't worry about trying to follow along with the recipe. Anyway, in 1979...
What are you doing? Come on. We know this. We know better than this.
What? So, oh my God, my god. Anyway, so 1979, he's in Huntington Beach. I just think it's weird because, like I said, I used to like ride a bicycle down
in your 40s,
the
I
trail. Oh, yeah, I was in my 40s. But it was weird because, I mean, we would just go to the beach as young girls.
What was Jesus like in high school?
So anyway, he's in Huntington Beach.
What was the Great Depression like?
We're going to find out in like 2 minutes.
Did you walk through the parted seas, or was that not your thing?
Whatever. So he sees this girl, Robin Samsoe, and her girlfriend. And they're 12 years old. And so they're at the beach, you know, just hanging out or whatever. And he goes up and he's like, hey, I want to take your picture. And they're like, no, you know, we can't do that.
We don't know you.
Yeah, we don't know you. You're weird. Get away.
Sorry.
So he wants to take their pictures. And the girlfriend was more adamant about it, her friend. But she's like, no, we can't do that, you know. And so they leave, and he kind of followed them a little bit. And he, you know, but then they're like, no.
God, yeah, put more of that.
I know
in
your
there.
fish sauce. And so,
Fish sauce.
I know.
So good.
So they, you know, they don't go with him or whatever. Well, what they think happened was, Robin was going to go to ballet because she was a dancer. And so she had her ballet practice. And so they split up at the beach. Well, then she never made it to ballet. And so they think what happened was he was like watching. And when they split up, he went after Robin. So they wind up finding Robin like 4 days later up in the LA hills.
Oh my God.
So they got her friend and they took her to a sketch artist, and he draws the picture or whatever. And Alcala's parole officer just happens to see this picture. And he's like, holy shit, that's Alcala. So he, you know, calls the cops and says, hey, you know, this is one of my parolees, you know. So I don't know, I thought that was really weird. So anyway, they go to his house. He lived with his mom, and they're searching the house, and they see a key, and it's to a storage shed in Washington State. And remember that PO officer was letting him travel. So, you know, so they go up to
I wonder at what point that guy was like, maybe that wasn't a smart idea.
I know, right? Well, and I think back in the day too, I don't know, but so anyway, so they go up to the storage shed. They're searching through it, and they find Robin Samsoe's one of her earrings. So they're like, okay, so they arrest him. So they go to trial, and this was in, I think it was like 2003, something like that. They go to trial, and he winds up getting convicted, and he's sentenced to death, right?
Yeah.
But then they overturn it because they said that the jury was not well enough informed about his, like,
Come on.
right? It was like his sexual,
Just get him already.
his sexual escapades or whatever, his sexual deviance or whatever, and they weren't, and so it got.
So because they didn't know how bad it was, they were somehow able to overturn it?
Yeah, like they weren't well enough informed.
That's
I mean,
fucking
I feel like some highlights are enough to.
Right? Like how much do you need to know, right?
I mean,
Yeah.
is he writing erotic novels or something?
Funny you say that because he did write a book.
Oh,
And it was called,
if I did it.
Very funny.
Oh my God.
No, it was called,
God.
it was called, I think it was called I the Jury. It was either I the Jury or You the Jury. But anyway,
Oh my God.
so, he gets acquitted, right? So then they're going to have a second trial. And at the second trial, same thing. He's convicted. He's sentenced to death, and then he gets let go again.
Whoa, bro.
This time because one of the witnesses.
This guy's getting so lucky.
Right. Well, it was something about one of the witnesses didn't support one of his statements that he made about what I know. It doesn't really make any sense to me, but
Yeah.
so because that guy wasn't able to, they suppressed him from making comments about his statement. So they said, okay, you know, we're gonna throw it out again.
Yeah.
So he gets off again.
Oh my God.
So then they try him a third time, and right before they go to try
I
him,
should have had a bigger bowl for that.
I know. I'm sorry.
I was trying to spill over.
Anyway,
Carefully mix.
Yep.
it's working. It works.
Uh-huh.
So the third time they're getting ready to go to court again, and of course now it's like 2003 DNA is like it's everywhere.
That exists.
Right. And so they find the woman in New York, they match the DNA to him. So now it's like, oh. Well, then they wind up, they matched samples for 2 women that they found in LA then with his DNA.
Yeah.
So now there's 2 more women. So then they find 4 more women. Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
So one of the women that they found, her name was Jill Barkham, and they had actually accused the Hillside Strangler of her murder
Yeah.
because they found her. She was in the Hollywood Hills, and they said she was like rolled up like a ball. So they figured out that he did it. Then there was like a woman that they found her dead in the laundry room in El Segundo. And then there was another woman, Jill Parento.
Yes.
Jill Parento, and she was found in her apartment in Burbank. And she had been raped and murdered.
God damn.
And so all these women, they all had, his DNA on them, right? So they,
This guy got around.
yeah. Would you quit pushing me? I'm trying to. Good Lord. Oh, that's my arm. So anyway, so they try him again, and this time they're able to convict him, right?
Good.
So
She almost shattered her glass. Yep. This is that double.
oh, that real nice. Yeah. So they wind up, they convict him again. Same thing. He's sentenced to death. But this time, go ahead. Just stick your fingers in there.
Just.
So during the, during the penalty phase of the trial, guess who shows up? Tally Shapiro.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
All right.
Oh, snap.
Coming full circle.
Right?
So wait, by this point, Tally's like how old now?
Well, let's see. In 68, she was 12. This is 2003. So someone do the math.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so she's.
okay.
We're all like, yeah.
I know. We're like, she was older.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She was probably about 5 years
She
older.
wasn't young anymore.
Get the. Ow. Okay, so this. What I do is I just put the chicken in here and give it a little peanut bath. Because it's so delicious.
A peanut bath there.
A peanut bath. And there will be peanut left over that you can put anywhere you want. I just spread the chicken all over the pizza, okay? So that's what I'm doing here. Okay, so anyway, he's in prison.
Can't wait to eat that shit.
I know, I'm so excited.
And they still have all those pictures, right? There's like over 1,000 pictures of men and women, all sexually explicit, blah, blah, blah.
Do we know if he murdered any men?
We don't know. So what they
Some of these fuckers are only killing women.
I know.
His bitches are pulling her over.
That's right.
I Ryan's vulnerable. Fuck you.
Buddy system, ladies. Buddy system.
That's right.
Make sure your buddy's not
That's
a bitch.
exactly it.
Right?
No
Okay.
woman left behind. Unless she gets wasted.
Yeah.
Don't forget that bitch.
Then you stick her in an Uber and you go back.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Take care of your friends.
Yes, take
That's
care of her.
right. Yes, please do.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's enough of that. Okay, so now I am going to cut up some cilantro. So they have all these pictures, right?
Yes.
So they're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? You know, there's all these pictures. We wonder, you know, if he's killed anybody else with these, you know, that he's taking pictures of. So, because there was one girl that, like, got away, and she said that, you know, he said, oh, yeah, I'm going to take pictures of you or whatever, and then he attacked her, but she was able to get away. So they decided what they would do is they would post all these pictures on the internet and see if anybody came forward and said, hey, that's my, you know, my sister, and I, you know, she disappeared, you know, whatever, right? So they post the pictures. Well, there was this guy who, his mother had a sister that disappeared in 1983. And by this time, this is 40 years later.
Wow.
Okay.
Fuck.
Now, they found her body in Wyoming. So this guy, he's heard his whole life about his aunt, you know, that, you know, was murdered, and they found her body and no one knew what happened to her, right?
Yeah.
You know, like who murdered her.
Right.
So somehow or another, he finds this website, and he's looking through all the pictures, right? And he sees a picture of this lady sitting on a motorcycle. And he's like, God, that looks like my mom.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends the picture to his mom, and he's like, hey, check out this picture, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the mom's like, holy shit, that's my sister, that's your aunt.
Wow.
And so turns out she's sitting on Alcala's motorcycle. He had a motorcycle. And so the interesting thing that they did was, so they knew where they found her body, 40 years ago. So they went back to that exact spot, and they took the picture and they held it up and just kind of like, doing this, looking at the horizon. And they got to this one, like, position, and the way the horizon was the exact way the horizon was.
Oh my God.
In the picture of her sitting on this motorcycle. So now they know that he took her there, took pictures of her on the motorcycle, and then killed her.
Oh, that's so fucked
Right?
up.
I know, right?
Faces of death in that photo.
Yeah.
Right?
Crazy.
40 years ago. So the cops went they went to the prison, and this was just a couple years ago, like I said.
Rough chop.
Little rough chop.
Rough chop.
Not too much, because I love big,
You can't impersonate.
oh my God.
Oh, I'm gonna get you. Face shots are fine.
Okay, so before I put on the cilantro, gotta put on the bean sprouts.
Bean sprouts though.
Bean sprouts, yeah.
Go light on them.
I'm not going light on them.
I don't like bean sprouts.
I don't care.
Oh, you don't like bean sprouts. Oh, actually, I don't think I'm allowed to eat bean sprouts.
Oh my God, no one cares. You've been eating everything, so.
Hey, I've been eating things I'm allowed to eat. Kind of.
Okay, well, I'm not allowed to eat them either, so take them off.
Okay, so there's the bean threads, and now the cilantro, okay? All right, so the cops, they go to the prison, and now he's 73 years old.
Tuesday.
He's in the infirmary, and the infirmary is like, this one cop was like, it's like the walls were like a nasty, like faded peach color. And,
Oh.
yeah, the wall, it was just really crappy. And they go in there, and like he's laying in bed, he's all, he's old and sick and all fucked up.
Rage.
Yeah. Oh, they are funny.
I know we are.
So
Do you want me to bring your walker into frame? Or
Very
do you
funny.
do that?
So they wind up, they talk to him, and they're like, they show him Oh my God, shut up. They show him the picture of the girl on the motorcycle, and he's all, oh yeah, I remember her. And he's all, but I don't remember killing her. You know?
It's like,
Isn't
dude,
that
And it's like,
yeah, you're gonna die anyway.
I know.
yeah.
Just
So who cares?
Yeah.
Well, and another funny thing was when he went to trial the third time, he decided to represent himself. And so they said that he would,
why?
I know, because they're idiots, but he would try to talk like when he was being the lawyer, like if he was questioning himself, he'd talk in a different voice. And then when he would answer, he would talk in a different voice. So it was like he was two different people when he did that.
I mean, that's
the guy
good
was
television.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that's
was
true.
nuts. So they wound up, like I said, they have all those pictures. You can still see them. They're online and you can go through and look at, there's like over 1,000 of them. So, you know, and they're sure that he's murdered, you know, probably several of the people that he photographed
That shit's insane.
that we just don't know about it, right? Isn't
That's
that weird?
so messed up.
It's crazy, right?
Oh my God.
That's the dating game killer.
Wow.
So, all right, well, here is our pizza. This is the finished product. And I will cut us a slice.
Yes. Cut it.
And how about a plate?
Maybe.
You guys are such pigs. Swear to God.
Don't judge me.
Well, she's got an excuse. I just really like pizza.
All right, so here's one slice and two slices. Okay,
You want them corner pieces.
corner piece.
Corner piece.
Corner piece.
Oh.
These are the bomb, people.
Yes.
I'm telling you. I'll have the middle piece.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Maybe cut
There
yours
we
a little
go.
better.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, fancy.
And here's my
Yes.
piece. All right,
bitches.
cheers.
Yes.
Mmm. Isn't that to die for?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.